Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. In today's video, we are talking about the difference between a number that is something that is squared means that we multiply the number by itself. If we take a look at a square, here's three squares. We're just going to use one at a time. But if we take a look at a square, we have, let's say, a base of 3, so a side of 3. And if I multiply the number by itself, let's say 3 times 3, that means I am squared. And that means that we have 3 squared. The side of the square is called the base. Now we can do any two sides. So let's do 4. If we do 4 times 4, here's one side of a square. Here's another side of the square. And we're finding area, so we only need two sides, length times width, base times height. So we have 4 times 4, which means we have 4 squared. And let's do one more. 5 and 5. Let's do color coding. I'm going to stay with here, so let's do 5 on this base and 5 on the side. So that means we have 5 times 5, which is 5 squared. So what does it mean when we multiply? Let me rephrase that. What does it mean when a number is squared? It means that we multiply the number by itself. 3 times 3, 3 squared. 4 times 4, 4 squared. 5 times 5, 5 squared. Now there's a difference between multiplying the number by itself and taking its square root. So let's go ahead and go back up here to our squares and solve. So let's say, for example, we have multiply the number by itself. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. 4 squared, 4 times 4, which is 16. 5 squared, 5 times 5, which is 25. What does it mean when a number is square rooted? It means that we are working backwards to find the side of the square. Now we're still talking about same numbers. So we're still talking about having 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6, 7, 7, 8 and 8, etc. But now we're talking about knowing 9, 16, 25 and working backwards. Sometimes when we're talking about square rooted, we want to ask ourselves the following question. Let me move this up a little bit. The question we want to ask ourselves is, what number times, multiply, times itself equals the given number? Now, it's important to know that the numbers we're looking for have to be the same. Because we're talking about a square, the length, the width, the base, the height needs to be the same. So let's do an example here. A square-rooted symbol is going to be looking like this. We call it sometimes a house. So there's going to be a little V, there's going to be a little stepping stool, there's going to be a little ending at the end. This symbol is called the square root symbol. So if I tell you the question inside of a square is the square root of 9, well, the square root of 9, what number times itself gives you 9? Well, that means we have 3 times 3. That means my sides of the my sides of the square, we're dealing with a square, is 3 and 3. So what is my answer for the square root of 9? My answer is 3. Let's say we have the square root of 16. Okay, so let's break apart 16. What number times itself? 4 times 4 is 16. That means the sides of my square are 4 and 4. That means the answer to the square root of 16 is 4. Now let's do the last one. What is the square root of 25? Well, the square root of 25, let's find out what number times itself gives us 25. Well, that's 5 times 5. That means the sides of my square are 5 and 5, which means my answer is 5. If you take this paper and flip it over, you will see that I have already typed out for you your memorization section. So you're going to need to have memorized your squares, your perfect squares, and your perfect square roots. When I am asking you to expand, these are your expansions. When I'm asking you to expand, these are your expansions. Notice the difference between a perfect square when you have an exponent of 2, exponent of 2, exponent, 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 versus here we have our square root symbol. For your classwork number 23. Oop, that's not classwork number 23. There it is. You're going to have 3 rounds. Okay, 3 rounds. Round number 1, round number 2, and round number 3. So I'm going to show all 3 of them. Now, all 3 are going to be similar. The difference is round 1 is going to be separated. Round 2 is going to be all combined. And round 3, you need to have all of this memorized, okay? Everything on this sheet right here, both sides, the expansions, the answers, the symbol, all of that needs to be memorized, okay? Memorized. So let's go ahead and start with round 1. In round 1, you can, I'm kind of expecting you to use this because this is new to you. We're going to use our memorization sheet. Let's go and start with question number 1 and see what it says. Expand, then find the square root. So it wants 2 things. I'm going to look at the square root of 36. Here's my square root. I'm going to find 36. There it is. I'm going to expand. I'm going to break open 36. That means 6 times 6 is 36, which means that my answer is 6. Let's put a box around that. 9, square root of 9. Let's find 9. Here's square root of 9. Let's break it apart. 3 times 3 equals 3. So we got the square root of 3 times 3, which is 3. So it is asking you to expand and give me an answer. Expand and find the answer. 16. So again, let's look here. 16 means the square root of 4 times 4, which means my answer is 4. And so you're going to keep doing that over and over and over. Here's square root of 1, which means 1 times 1 gives you 1. So that means my answer is 1. Let's do one more. Now let's do 2 more. Square root of 225. So let's find the square root of 225. Here it is down below. That means we got 15 times 15. So write out your square root, 15 times 15, which means I have the answer of 15. And square root of, what is this, 100? Oh, it looks like it's not here. So you can skip this one if you would like, because it's not on your sheet. That is okay. I expected it to smaller numbers, but I'm going to go ahead and do this for you. This is 16 times 16, which gives you 16 as an answer. Okay, so this is what you're going to have memorized. So go ahead and complete questions 7 through 16. This is still round 1. And then after half of round 1, the second half ends up going to your perfect squares. Now for your perfect squares, again, we want to expand and then evaluate. So I'm going to look at 3 squared. 3 squared, my expansion is 3 times 3. No house, no square root, just 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, let's expand 8 squared. 8 squared is 8 times 8. 8 times 8 is equal to 64. So again, the lesson of today is understanding the difference between a square root, the square root of 30 is 6, the square root of is 3, versus squared. 3 squared is 9, 8 squared is 64, 6 squared is 36, 15 squared is 225. Now again, I am looking at my cheat sheet here. 15 squared is 15 times 15, which is 225. You're going to go ahead and complete this. It is okay in round 1 to take a look at your multiplication sheet, right? This is your perfect squares and square roots. Now, when you move on to round 2, round 2 is not going to have things separated. Round 2 is going to have things mixed. Okay, so it's going to be very important for you to read the directions of what it's asking, and you're going to try not to use this. Now, this is still going to be available to you. It's a tool, but try to have these memorized. So if you see a squared, you're going to expand and multiply times. 7 times 7 is 49. If you see a square root, you're going to break it apart, keeping the house. What number times what number is 36? 6 times 6 is 36. What number is the same? 6 is the answer. So the square root of 36 is 6. Again, if you see a squared, expand, multiply, write me an answer. Expand, multiply, write me an answer. 12 times 12 is 144. When you see a square root, you're going to ask yourself, what number times what number gives you 121? And that gives me 11 times 11. So the square root of 121 is 11. And you're going to continue this. Again, try not to use your memorization sheet. In round 2, yes, you can still use it. It's still available. Now, in round 3, this is now going to be memorization. You are going to put away your memorized sheet, your cheat sheet. You're going to put this away. And for this, you're going to try to do this without any sort of cheat sheets. Okay, I'll do the first 2 for you. So we have the square root of 196. So you're going to have a house. You're going to see a house. You're going to draw the house. Then you're going to ask yourself, what number times what number is 196? This is something you need to have memorized. 14 times 14, which means the square root of 198 is 14. When you see something squared, you're going to expand it out. 1 times 1 is still 1. Okay, and you're going to continue. Make sure that by round 3, by this round, you have all of your perfect squares memorized all the way up to 15 and your square roots memorized all the way up to 15. All right, that's it for classwork number 23. Thank you so much. Goodbye.